Hello there, and welcome to day three of Shop Talk here on YouTube, where I am Rachel Evans. I'm the founder and CEO of the Workshop Whisperer, and I'm showing up here every day for 30 days during one of the biggest times of the year. Today is December 13, and I'll be going right through with you until almost the middle of January. So I'm showing up with you here in order to help you do a reset on your mindset, the way you think about how much time you have available to put the things in place that would actually see your auto repair shop or whatever type of repair shop you have. It would see you actually achieve the results that you thought you went into business for. And yesterday we spoke about how it's usually a fear of something that has you thinking that you don't have time. You don't have time to work on the business, you've got to work in it. And that is the most common excuse we hear from people that know they've got a problem, suspect they know what the solution is, which is to work on their business, but they tell themselves they just don't have the time available. And that could be because you are still on the tools if you're the owner technician. It could be because you're behind the service desk. If you are the owner, you could have a husband and wife dynamic where you're both heavily involved in the day to day running of the shop. You haven't been able to hire great people, and the shop takes a lot from you, and you're working in the business. Of course, you can do that for years and years at a time, and you might, on the surface, be looking like you're making a decent amount of money. But if we stepped back and actually ran your financial results through our 15 Workshop Whisperer exclusive benchmarks, we'd probably find that there's maybe enough money to cover the operating expenses, including wages and salaries, most of the time. But there's no real leapfrog in front for you financially. You might have acquired some nice things in your time as business owner, nice family home. Maybe you've got a couple of nice four-wheel drives or vehicle of choice. Maybe there's a boat, maybe there's a jet ski, but it's all financed through debt, which, of course, most people need to finance their home through debt, but you haven't been able to leverage pumping money out of the business in a sustainable way so that you can have investments outside of the business. And that really should be your ultimate goal, because despite how young you are right now watching this video, you will not own your auto repair shop forever. And some of you might immediately think, well, of course it's what I'm going to do forever. I'm a technician, or of course I am. It's the family business. My dad was here, my grandfather was here. Of course it's what I'm going to do. Things happen, and you just don't know what is around the next corner. And one of the things that we help our clients with here at the Workshop Whisperer is sustainably ensuring that wealth is transferred outside of the business framework so that you can have other investments that would allow you, should you decide one day you don't want to be a business owner anymore, would allow you to enjoy a certain quality of life that meant that you didn't have to worry about that. If there was ever a situation where you were unable to work and the business had to be sold, you have other investments. Owning the business and having all of your wealth eggs in that basket is a risk in itself. So it's why you need to make time to work on your business so it can be operating effectively and growing at a rate that allows you to not just pay all the bills, not just pay the salaries, and not just pay yourself a living salary as the owner, but it's also got to be able to pay some kind of dividends on a regular basis. There's got to be that much profit left over that you're able to transfer that out and look at other investments. And that might be property, it might be shares, it might be something else, depending on your risk appetite. But holding it all inside one business is a risk. So, yesterday we spoke about fear, as I mentioned, which is effectively your ego that might keep you playing small and thinking, well, I've just got to keep those invoices moving, got to keep the cars moving so that the money comes in. But today we're going to talk about fear in a different way, and it's in relation to how we charge out time. So the repair industry is obviously one that sells hours in order to make money, and it puts GP on parts in order to make money that way as well. But one of the things that often happens, especially in a market where there is a shortage of skilled, qualified technicians and what seems really skilled people with common sense, is we have a fear of holding people to account for their job. So if you've got a technician who's, let's say, on a 38-hour week, in order to make the most from that one technician, we need them to sell as much of that 38 hours as possible. And if they're really good, sell more than their 38 hours. And back in sort of 2012, when we grew the workshop that I was talking about yesterday, when we first purchased that, it's difficult when you have a business that is under capacity, so you don't have enough work coming in. It's difficult to sell the time of all available technicians, even if that's just only you. And once you have a technician or two under your employee, but you're under capacity, the pressure is really on to find work and make sure that the opportunity that you have with each vehicle that comes through is capitalized on. So you need to make sure that you've got a really good walk around vehicle inspection and, you know, however many point inspection once the vehicle is on the hoist. But you also need to make sure that you have not only the system that accurately captures the time that is worked on the vehicle, but a system that means that you hold the technicians accountable to using that system the way that it should be. And when we're in an employment market that doesn't favour the employers, which it hasn't for a while, because there is a technician shortage. In Australia, the number is estimated at one technician short for every auto repair shop or any kind of repair shop. And it's around the same in New Zealand and, of course, in the US as well. So when we fear that if somebody did not meet their performance benchmarks, and we held them to account for that, when we fear that they would leave or we'd have to move them on and we wouldn't be able to replace them, we'll often put up with a substandard result. And once we are in that position, we are immediately losing money. So there was a time when I entered the industry where continuous time clocking was not the norm. People were still handwriting their times on the job cards, and in some repair shops, that's still happening. But once the technology became available, it sort of was moved outside of the dealerships and into the software that you see today, that many of you have in your businesses, continuous time clocking meant that you could effectively have your technicians clocked into something, whether it was directly working on a repair or a service, or they were in admin time, or they were in cleaning time, or whatever it was. You could continuously time clock for the entire day. So that was the first opportunity to capture all of the data of how those 38 hours were being spent. But even today, not all of you are using that information to effectively lead and performance manage your team because you are afraid. And the first part of the fear comes from what I just mentioned. We're in a skill shortage. If you push too hard, what's going to happen? That technician's going to leave and they're going to be hard to replace. And the other part of the fear comes through I'm too busy to work on the business. So I don't even have time to look at what information the continuous time clocking is capturing for me. But here's the thing, why go to the trouble of having the capability to do that if you're not going to step up and lead and let your team members know what the expectation is and show them that you will follow through? So if you've got technicians where you have the work you can supply to them, but they go slower than the logbook time or the time you think it should take based on their level of experience or what you've asked them to do. If you don't call them out and hold them accountable to that system that you've put in place, then that's on you. That's your poor leadership. That's costing you money, and it's another reason contributing to why you think you don't have time to work on the business. Because if that little system was running effectively and you were capturing all of the time, and where there were situations where the technician wasn't efficient, they went over the set time, you're either addressing it then and there or at the end of the day or at the next team huddle, like we spoke about yesterday. And if you're not, then there's money that is continually leaking out of your business. The more money that leaks out of the business or is never captured in the first place, the more stressed you are that you don't have enough money, or will you have enough money to settle everything on the last day of the month or to make this week's payroll. And that only further increases your stress levels to make you think, I don't have time to sit back and analyze everything. I've just got to help everybody get the work out so we can close the invoices and get the money through the FPOS machine. So if your management software, your invoicing software, has the ability to capture what your team members out on the floor are doing every minute of the day, and you don't have it switched on, or you do, but you're not holding the technician's account to it, you're not holding them accountable, then you need to start. Some of you also have issues where you've gone and given yourself the ability to continuously time clock. So you've got the software, but you've got a technician or maybe two who says, I don't want to do that. I don't need to do that. And they're identifying themselves as someone who doesn't want to be a team player, or they know that they work slower than they should, or they throw up the excuse of this is like Big Brother. Why don't you trust us? Anything they can to throw you off actually doing what you're entitled to do as the business owner and see what's going on with the 38 hours that you're paying the employees for. And that scares you away as well. So we often have clients come into the engine room in that situation where they've got the capability to do it, to capture the hours, to make sure that no time's being lost and everything is being, all the extra minutes are being moved inside the job for the customer to pay for. but they're too afraid. They think their team members will walk out because they said they didn't want to do it. Well, the team members are the team members because they don't have their own business. They don't actually get to dictate to you how this works. But you, as the business owner, you're the one that takes all the responsibility for employing these people, for having the equipment to do a world-class job. You're the one financing the whole operation. And one of the things you need to do in order to give yourself the best chance of being successful and wealthy is take control of this. It's your right as the business owner. And if they were inside a dealership, it's exactly what would be happening. Outside in the independent auto aftermarket, we want to be just as professional. We deserve to be just as professional. There's no multinational conglomerate that owns our business. This is a mum and dad operation, or however your ownership structure looks. So we need every minute, and we need every minute sold that can possibly be sold. So even an extra 3 minutes, an hour per technician per day captured and transferred to the invoice equates to an extra $10,000 a year in pure labor profit on your bottom line. So in the net profit line for every technician that you have. So if you can get every technician right now to invoice an extra 24 minutes a day, based on, we take out public holidays and we take out annual leave, based on how many hours the average technician has available in a year, 24 minutes a day. You capture that and you move it to the invoice. We're talking about $10,000 per tech. So if you're one of these businesses that has 3 techs, that's $30,000. Okay, you've got 7 techs, 70 grand. Can you imagine the difference that makes for you when you've got cash flow challenge? It doesn't sound like a lot on a daily basis, but the cumulative effect is extraordinary. And I guarantee you, if you're not currently sticking to the system you have access to and you're not currently enforcing it, or you haven't led the way with it and your team is simply following what you do, which is do it sometimes and not others, you'll find more than 24 minutes a day per technician. Okay, so that's just capturing the minutes. We haven't even spoken about what it could look like for making sure you've got the correct labour rate dependent on what your business requires for its break-even cost, but we might talk about that tomorrow. Today, it is purely about recognising, have we slackened off over the year with our continuous time clocking? I'm hoping that there aren't too many of you that don't have continuous time clocking anymore. If you don't have it and you're wondering what to use, then by all means comment on the video, and depending on your country, we can help you out there with that information. But absolutely in Australia and New Zealand, you want to be using the modern stuff that's got an API integration with other things, so that you've got a connected ecosystem. So Mechanic Desk has been our preferred partner for many years now, and they have, I think, the best help desk of the management software platforms in Australia and New Zealand. It's why we have worked with them for so long, and we have them in to speak with our clients all the time, every time they introduce a new innovation. So if you don't have it, you've used this opportunity, this time of year, once you head into the Christmas break, perhaps just to have a basic explore, set up a demo, have a little play, and look at transferring to the platform that can help you have this for 2026 and start capturing all of that time that is just falling by the wayside. So when you just guess what time you started, you are losing minutes on either side of the job. There's just no question. If you've got it and you're not enforcing it, it's time to get real. That's your leadership that's got to make that happen. And if you've got people who refuse and say they'll go somewhere else, it's a scary thing to do. I get it in a labour market where it's difficult to find the good ones. But if they're not willing to do that, to be totally transparent with their time, when you pay them 38 hours a week to sell 38 hours a week, provided a bunch of other stuff is in alignment, they're going to be misbehaving somewhere else as well. Okay, how we do one thing is how we do everything, and maybe 2026 is the year for you to step up in that regard with your leadership, not be taken for a fool any longer, and potentially not behave like one either. You're in a business that sells labor. You've got to make sure that your labor system is spot on. Extra dollars collected through labor is pure profit. Every extra minute you can bill for goes straight to your bottom line because you've already paid all other labor related expenses on that job. Okay, it is one of the easiest things, easiest levers to pull when we're looking at improving cash flow without even going anywhere near the margin. Okay, so without even talking about labour rate. As I said, we'll talk about that tomorrow perhaps. So there's a way for you to step in and step up to ease this thing that tells you I don't have time. Okay, today's lesson literally is about capture the time that helps you capture more money so you are less stressed about cash flow and getting everything paid because it actually helps pay the bills. And when we are financially in a good place, there is less chatter in our brains. We're doing less head miles, less loops that we just keep running in. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? And we start to relax a little bit, and that's when we can get into the space of, okay, what else can I do to help improve this business? Okay, that's the end of day 3. Make sure if you've just jumped in on day 3, you go back and check on day 1 and day 2. And if you are looking to get an immediate bump in profits, just have a look at the options that we always have available to you at the bottom of the description that goes along with the video here in YouTube. And maybe you're a prime candidate to come along with one of our all access passes to our next Engine Room 2-day client intensive event. Have a look down the bottom of the description. Follow the link. You can check it out for yourself. I don't need to say anything more about that, except I'm looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow.